Before we begin, I would like to say that the links to the stories will be in the description below if you want to read along with me. With that being said, let's begin. Number 1. So, this happened last night, and I'm still kind of freaking out. My roommate had gone up to the foothills to spend Christmas with his family, and was there for about 3 days. On the 27th around midnight, he asked if I could come get him because he didn't want to stay another night. I don't mind. We've been best friends for 4 years, so I'm used to driving him to the city. Now a little backstory. I live in a small area, and there are only 2 ways to get from our town to the next city, both of which take about an hour and a half round trip. One road is a main highway, but doesn't lead to the foothills, so it would take me 2 hours to reach him that way. The other road is a back road that leads straight to the foothills, so naturally, I took that road. Now, this road is surrounded by nothing but desert for about 20 miles, with the occasional housing developments, so it's very dark at that time of night. It's also very secluded and less taken. The only reason you take it is to go to the foothills, the college, or are leaving the county. There are about 4 cars total going that way while I'm driving, and they all pass me within minutes. The speed limit is about 65 miles an hour, and I'm going 55. Something's wrong with my car, where it shakes if I go above 60. After a while, it's just me driving. About 15 minutes into the drive, I see a car coming up behind me. I pay no mind to it because I figure it'll just pass me like the other cars do. It comes right up behind me, and is right up on my back. I'm more confused than I am scared, because why is this person right behind me while I'm only driving 55 in the slow lane? I don't go faster, and I don't move, which I guess egged them on, because they kept turning their brights on and off, and started to swerve behind me. Now, I'm thoroughly freaked out, and keep hoping they'll either leave me alone, or another car will drive by. Neither of those happen. They do this all the way up to the foothills, and I think, okay, so either they're going to keep following me or turn somewhere. But they keep following me. I'm nearing the exit where my friend is, so I'm afraid they are going to see where my friend's family lives and hurt them. I call my friend and tell him to meet me at the convenience store because I wanted to get something to drink, not telling him someone was following me. I get to the store and watch the car pass by, and finally calm down, thinking it was just some asshole messing with me. I meet up with my friend, and we get some drinks and snacks, then leave. For about half an hour, it's fine. It's just us talking about what we did during the holidays, joking around and stuff. I had completely forgotten about the car, until it started happening again. Now, the reason I didn't tell my roommate to begin with is because he kind of has a temper. So instead of being scared, he's pissed. Not only at the car, but at me for not telling him before. He's screaming for me to stop the car so he could deal with this asshole himself. And I'm refusing out of fear. Thing is, my roommate is a 5'10" tall bodybuilder, so he's a pretty intimidating guy. While I, on the other hand, am 5'6" and disabled. The only thing I got going for me is that I carry a hatchet everywhere I go. So he's used to scaring people off. I tell him no. we're going to the police station in our town. And he calms down a bit. As we get to the station, the car disappears again, and we sit there for about 15 minutes, seeing if it circles back. Now, in hindsight, what we did was kind of stupid, because we didn't go into the station and ask for help. We just went home without thinking they may be waiting for us to leave. We were constantly looking behind our shoulders while we were driving, making sure no one was following us. And when we got home, we thought they were gone. Now, this is the part that scared the hell out of me. We had been home for hours. My roommate was already passed out in his room, and I was the only one awake. It was about 4 in the morning, and I'd gone to the restroom, which was right across the hall from my room. Now, the way our house is set up is the kitchen and living room are separated by a wall with the 4-foot wide space as an entrance. And the living room is connected to a 10-foot long narrow hallway. Now, from the living room, you can't see most of the kitchen or past 2 feet into the hallway. And from the hallway, you can't see half of the living room when by the bathroom. I get done in the restroom and see lights flashing through the living room window. I'm in the hallway, too afraid to move and get my phone, or wake my roommate. But my bedroom door is open, so I softly call for my dog, who is a miniature husky, knowing he barks at anything that moves, hoping that will scare them away. As I thought, once he sees the lights, he goes fucking nuts. But he's short, so he can't reach the window. So he's in the middle of the coffee table barking. I see the lights turn off, and I wait. About 5 minutes go by before he starts barking in the kitchen. My roommate is awake now, asking me what the fuck my dog is barking at. I tell him, and he goes back into his room and gets his boxer on her leash, and then tells me to get my hatchet and my phone. As I'm getting my stuff, I hear a thud against the back door, and then another. They're trying to kick in the door. I call 911 and explain the situation, and they said that they'll be there in 10 minutes. I get back to my roommate, and we head to the kitchen where he opens the back door, and in stumble 2 guys about my height, dressed in all black. They look up at us and start freaking out, because they've got 2 guys with 2 fairly large dogs. One who looks like he injects steroids, and the other with a hatchet. One guy is screaming, "This isn't her house! How did you fuck this up?" And the other one is bawling his eyes out. Apparently, they were going to break in to one of the guy's ex-girlfriend's house, who happened to be my next-door neighbor, and kidnap her. The one guy got the house wrong and mistook me as the guy's ex, because I had my hood up and they couldn't see my face, and I have the same build as her. The cops arrived shortly afterwards and took them. It was really freaky, and I hope it never happens again, because I don't know what I would have done if they were really after us. Number 2. Hi, Let's Not Meet. I have a story for you. Told to me by my uncle just 2 days ago when I was visiting him at his home for Christmas in rural, almost bluegrass country. I'm an occasional The Truth Is Here reader, and as a city slicker, I was curious to ask my uncle and 2 cousins, all avid outdoorsmen and ex-military, if they had ever seen anything spooky, or that they couldn't explain logically, while out in the woods fishing, hunting, hiking, or screwing around. As for my cousins, disappointingly, neither of them had any spooky stories. They told me about being startled or creeped out a few times by the calls of vixen and mountain lions, but nothing unexplained. My uncle agreed, nothing unexplained, but he did have a really creepy story to contribute that I thought belonged here. While I'm positive I won't be able to tell it anywhere near as well as my uncle did, he's a fantastic storyteller. I'll do my best. Furthermore, I want to be clear that this is a true story, and while my uncle is delightful to listen to, he's not known to exaggerate or lie. He has lived a life interesting enough that he has no reason to. I'll tell it in the first person, but remember, this is coming from my uncle, who was in his late 60s. In late winter, maybe spring, 1968, I was in my last semester at the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado, on my way to Vietnam as fast as I could get there. By that point, I was getting bored, and I was really looking forward to graduating. And I took advantage of the increased leash we got as near graduates. A couple times a week, I would drive up to a spot I found by Snake River and fish for a few hours in the afternoons. One Wednesday, I got to the spot around 2, parked the Jeep pretty close to the bank, and got to fly fishing. A few hours went by, and I'd caught a couple dinky cutthroats, trout. So I built myself a fire on the riverbank to cook 'em up for supper before rolling back to school by 9. I was sitting there by the fire, finishing up my second trout. Except for the river, it was quiet. I was by myself. I didn't see anything unusual, but this feeling of dread started to settle in, like something was wrong, or something bad was about to happen. I couldn't put my finger on what it was, but I felt almost sick to my stomach. I decided to stay alert and see if the feeling would pass. If it didn't, I knew I had a little .38 revolver on the passenger seat of the Jeep, just in case. A fishing gun, you know? I kept picking at my trout, mostly listening for anything moving in the trees. A few minutes went by, and the sick feeling was sticking around. In fact, it got worse. I thought maybe I'd sensed a cat stalking a white-tailed deer. They had mountain lions up there, and those bastards are dead silent on their feet. So I knew, just because I didn't hear or see anything, didn't mean it wasn't there. I got up, slowly, casually, and got the .38 out of my Jeep and loaded it. I sat back down by the fire and put the .38 on my lap. I finished my trout and hustled to pack up, and I finally got myself out of there. 2 days later, Friday, I went back up to that spot to get some fishing in around noontime. I fished for 3 hours. I think I caught 3 trout that day. I was on the riverbank, already frying up the fish, when a game warden pulled up. I thought, oh no, they've got me now. You see, I hadn't bought a fishing license. I was going to be graduating and leaving, and I just didn't bother getting one. Now, here's the game warden about to ask for my license, and I don't have one. I thought maybe I can turn on the charm, and he might not give me a ticket, or let me go with the warning. He parked behind my Jeep and walked over. I said, "Hey there, I've got a trout here. Would you like to join us? Hello. Don't mind if I do. I chatted him up, but I think he could tell I was tense. I thought things were going well. He's here, and he's eating the evidence. Are you from around here? He asked. No, sir. Upstate. Buffalo, New York. I'm down at the academy, graduating in May. Do you mind if I take a look at your ID? Sure can, I said, and I handed him my student ID card. He handed it back. He looked out over the river and looked back at me and said, You get up here much? Sure, whenever I can. I've been up here a couple days a week for a while. I was up here on Wednesday. His eyes sort of sharpened, and he frowned looking at me. Wednesday? Same spot? Yes, sir. Same spot. I've gotten lucky with the trout here. Say, around what time do you think? He asked. Oh, I was here a while. I left around 4 or 5. I creeped myself out, tell you the truth. I kinda booked it out of here. 4 or 5, you say? Did you notice anything funny? See anything strange? No, sir. I didn't see anything. But I got a bad feeling, and I had to run. He goes on to tell me, right around 6 o'clock on Wednesday, a game warden right on the other side of the river from where we were sitting had found a dead body. Freshly dead. They reckoned it had just happened. The man's ankles were bound, and his hands were tied behind his back. And he was shot through the back of the head. He was bent over like he was bent on his knees. Like somebody executed him. I never heard what happened after that, or what the outcome of that was. But this being 1968, outside Colorado Springs, I think that it was an early drug trafficking hit. I think that was when people first started bringing large quantities of drugs through that area. So, that's the story I've settled on after all these years. I think I must have heard or seen something that tipped me off, and I must have somehow perceived it when the body was being dumped. I didn't see anything that jumped out, but I think I must have felt it in my subconscious. I suspect if I hadn't taken out that .38 and set it on my lap, something bad would have happened to me. And now, I always buy a fishing license. Number 3. Alright, for those of you who might recognize my last story, you know that I no longer have my dog. She's with the family friend on 6 acres and is super happy. I have moved to a place closer to the city with my family. Some necessary info. I live in a 2-story townhouse that also has a basement with a garage. To get into my basement, you have to go through the 2 storm doors of my garage. My in-laws are currently living in my basement, which is a single room with steps to lead to the main floor. My main floor is my kitchen, laundry room, half bathroom, and living. Then I have 2 bedrooms and a full bathroom upstairs. When coming up the stairs, my 2-year-old son's is the first bedroom. My 10-month-old daughter still sleeps in a crib in my bedroom. Now, my house is full with pretty unique decoration. I also have a big screen TV, a PS4, and Xbox 360. My in-laws also have a 360, and an even bigger flat screen. About 3 or 4 months after we moved in here, I was in my son's room with him when I noticed one of our neighbors leaving my garage door area. I didn't see if she actually came out of it or not, but she was near it, and walking away with the trash bag. I figured that she got confused because she looked older and all of the houses looked the exact same in the back and have no numbers. So I just shrugged it off. A few weeks later, I had just gotten my daughter to sleep. I was sleeping for maybe an hour. I slowly woke up, and it registered that I heard a door creak. I looked up to see a man in my doorway, just staring at me. I jumped up screaming and ran to my daughter while my husband jumped up, woken by my screams. He took a split second to register what was happening, and then charged at the guy. The guy, who appeared to be Milano, and dressed in black clothes with a checkered hoodie, quickly ran out. As he ran down the stairs, he said, "Sorry, didn't know you were home." Here's the part that really gets us. He unlocked the front door to get out, which is on my first floor, meaning that he came up through our basement, where my father-in-law was asleep. Mother-in-law was at work. He broke through 2 locked doors quietly enough to slip past a sleeping man. We figured it couldn't possibly be a case of mistaken housing, because he had to walk past all of our fairly unique stuff to get to our room. What freaks me out the most is that he walked past my son's room first. I can't even bear to think what would have happened if he went into his room instead of walking past. We called the cops, and the guy was never found. We think he may have gone inside another house in the neighborhood to hide, because the police did rounds and couldn't find him. A week or so later, a cop came by and held up a picture asking if it was him. I said maybe, because it had been dark in our room, and my husband was the only one who got a good look at his face. The cop informed me that he was wanted for aggravated assault, assault with a deadly weapon, and sexual assault. Guy in my bedroom doorway. Let's not meet. I keep a metal baseball bat by my bed now, and I will use it. Thank you for listening to another 3 True Scary Stories from Reddit. Remember, if you like this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up and also subscribe for future content. Until next time though, have a great day everyone, and as always, stay safe.